Welcome back to Rocket Talk. Episode 32 is now here, and we are joined by a very special guest for this episode. Connor, why don't you introduce our special guest?
Hello, my name is Connor, and our special guest today is my wife, Emily Raabe.
Do that. Hi.
Yeah, so
She made
Emily's
a guest appearance last time with a little quick hi.
Yeah, so Emily is joining us because, as we teased last week, our topic of the week is going to be on the Mario 3D All-Stars, and she's going to help be the judge for our debate. But she just decided to join us for everything else, too, so if she wants to pipe in on any of our Nerd News Now stuff as well, she can go ahead and do that. But before we get into Nerd News Now, let's do a quick bev check. I am enjoying a nice White Claw black cherry hard seltzer. What about you guys?
We've got Dry Creek. This is,
Some crisp white wine.
it's Fume Blanc. I don't know how you say it. It has a little chick over the E. So I don't
Well,
know.
Connor, I do actually have some things to one of our listeners, Abby's mom, said that you are her favorite because you do enjoy wine as well. So
All right.
there you go.
Awesome.
Hey, Abby's mom.
But yeah, say a nice white wine is always good to go. But a nice White Claw is good as well. So, Johnny, do you have anything, or are you just gonna be parched for this recording?
I am super parched this recording. I meant to grab some water before I left, and I did not. And so now I'm dying, but it's okay. I'll make it through.
Alrighty. Well, if Johnny dies for the end of the recording, then we know it's because he's just a little boy. So,
Yeah.
into Nerd News Now, we have a few topics to go over. One of the first ones is Disney delayed nearly all of their remaining movies this year and pushed them back into 2021, including Black Widow and many, many more. So, not surprising with how everything's been going with the pandemic. But as the rest of the world starts to be able to open up a little more here in America, we're still spiking. So things like Black Widow and Eternals and the West Side Story remake and all that have been delayed. Some have been delayed up to a year due to everything's been going on with the pandemic. So what are your guys' thoughts then on all these movies that are now going to be delayed, and so there's less to look forward to with movies in 2020?
I'll go
I say
first.
good.
I mean, it's to be expected. This is not surprising at all, and it's just the necessary measures we have to take during the pandemic. This has been happening to basically all of media this year, and this is no different. I mean, personally, I don't really give a shit. If I'm interested in the movie, I'll just watch it when it comes out. I mean, sure, it sucks having a longer wait for the movie, but I mean, with all the new shows and games that are out now, keeping me preoccupied while we are in the middle of the pandemic, I just don't care.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the most important thing is that, I'm glad this is happening because it means that there's going to be fewer people going out to the movies. And if we push everything back, then no one's going to be going, and then there's less of a chance for more people to get sick. We didn't have movies for 6 months, and we still were a shit show of a country, just speaking for the U.S. alone. So I definitely think it's very, very good that these big name movies are getting pushed back because we don't need more reasons to be stuck inside for even longer. So
Wear your mask.
wear a mask. Jeez.
Yeah, I thought that's surprising. I feel bad for the other countries that have everything together, where life is semi back to normal in other parts of the world because they took it seriously in March and April, where we didn't here in America. But oh well. So yeah, you got to wait a little bit longer to see some of these films, and it is what it is. But moving on to the next one, one that I know that will make Johnny sad. Supergirl is ending after 6 seasons. So the Girl of Steel is going to hang up her cape, and we're having one of the Arrowverse shows that is going to be ending. So as someone who's never really watched Supergirl, there's not much I can say outside of, okay, we have another show ending. So Johnny, why don't you take this one away about your thoughts on this show ending and what you think will happen with the character with the rest of the Arrowverse?
I will say that I'm not as bummed about this ending as I was when Arrow ended, which was obviously the spearhead of the entire Arrowverse. But
You mean the Arrowhead?
Oh my God. All right, so this is going to be Connor's last episode on the show, you guys.
It's been good while it lasted, I guess.
So yeah, it's kind of a bummer because Supergirl, I've watched it since the very beginning, and it's been a really good show. They've done a good job. Some people on the internet would certainly disagree with me, but I think that they've done a good job of balancing fantasy with realistic, real world politics, and I think that sometimes is going to be bigger than ever, which is kind of what they always say. But I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of a bummer because there's been a lot of characters on here that I've really really come to enjoy and appreciate. But we still have Flash, so
There you go. How many Arrowverse shows are there now once this ends? Because
all right. So once this ends,
once this ends, because there's Flash, and then just how many
there's
are on there right now, plus the couple that are in the works.
So, Arrow and Supergirl are ending or have ended, and then there's Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning. Oh goodness. There's a lot.
Doom Patrol? Is that in the same universe?
No, that's not the same one. Goodness. Well, let's see. Oh yeah, Batwoman. And then
there's Superman and Lois is coming, right?
Superman and Lois is coming. And then there's a few web series, which are Vixen and Freedom Fighters. And then there's technically the Flash from the 90s is technically retroactively a part of it because that Flash is a part of the current Flash later on in the seasons. But that's not like an official tie-in. And then Constantine is also a retroactively part of the expanded setting. So,
Okay.
yeah. So there's a lot. There's like 7 or 8 shows in total, but right now there's like after Supergirl, there's only 4 that are on right now.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, so even though Supergirl will be ending, you'll still be able to get your fix of a lot of these characters with it, and you're still going to get a super fix with the Superman and Lois show that's coming as well. So
Yeah.
that'll be decent. So with that show ending, that'll change a little bit of the Arrowverse a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Now we can move on to the third topic. This is definitely one that that angered a lot of people. So we didn't talk about this last week in our console debate, but the Xbox Series X and Series S have expandable storage slots that you can put in these little, essentially memory cards, to expand your storage, and it is very expensive. So a 1 terabyte memory card is over $200. It's $219.99 MSRP. And currently it's going to be the only drive capable to replicate the Xbox Velocity architecture. So if you want to save a Xbox Series X game on that memory card, you need that memory card. You can still use an external hard drive plugged into your Xbox to give you more storage, but only Xbox One, 360, and OG games can be on that. I mean, people are mad about this because it's very expensive for a proprietary piece of equipment, but I mean, it also is kind of expected with how much of the new system is being designed on the loading speeds from the hard drives. It makes sense. I mean, PlayStation is also one that you're having that like it has its own custom hard drive. So I wasn't super surprised by this. I mean, the price is a little expensive and it's kind of dumb, but I mean, what were you guys' thoughts on this this thing as well that pissed off a lot of people?
It's expensive. It's really really expensive, and it just sucks, man. That's I don't know. If there's like off-brand versions of it that you can get, then go that route. But yeah, it just sucks that it's so expensive.
Yeah, down the line we'll probably see it, and that's one that in the IGN article I linked that talked about is how down the line this could that we could see prices driving down as more manufacturers jump on it, because right now it's only Seagate, and there's other companies that are in the solid state drive market. So it's luckily this is not the only way you can save your games. This is not like the PlayStation Vita situation where Sony's using their own proprietary memory card instead of a micro SD, and they're way too expensive. Like this is expensive, but this is to expand your storage. 1 terabyte's a decent size, and with all the compression that's going to be going on with a lot of these games now, you'll actually be able to have games be under 100 gigs again, hopefully, because that's been a big issue at the end of the PS4, Xbox One life cycle. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, but people are kind of overblowing this a little bit.
I mean, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Johnny, as you not getting an Xbox, what was your take on this?
I think it's kind of interesting because this seems to be, and like I said, like you said, I'm not very in touch with the Xbox news as much as PlayStation, but this seems to be the first major hit that Xbox has had since everything's been revealed, because they've been a little bit cocky with how they've been able to be perceived from fans, especially in comparison to the PlayStation 5, with them releasing PlayStation 5 released information later, and then there was the whole pre-order fiasco, and Xbox was just kind of sitting pretty for a while. But then when this news came out, everyone was like, "Oh, so you're not perfect either," and so it's kind of nice to have a little bit of backlash on the other side as well.
Oh man, we didn't even talk about the Xbox pre-orders. They gave out the times, and it was still a mess too. So it's almost like pre-ordering these new consoles is a mess either way. But it's not that, like, people, like, it is frustrating, because if someone buys a Series S, then like this is almost the price of the Series S to get more storage. But also, I mean, it is what it is. It's not the end of the world, since it is an extra thing you can do to expand it. It's not needed. Then I think that people can be mad, but they don't need to act like this is the worst thing in the world. So the other Microsoft news we do have is they did go and quash the rumors that they're going to be acquiring Sega. So Microsoft, as we announced this past week, they purchased Bethesda. And they have said that they're going to continue to expand the Xbox Game Studios library soon, and maybe purchase more. And so the rumors for Microsoft buying Sega have long been around. Even back in the original Xbox days, it was rumored that Microsoft was going to buy Sega to give them a jump once the original Xbox came out. And there's been a bunch of other rumors over the last 15, 20 years. But with this one, Xbox had some things that they are announcing, a bunch of different things at the Tokyo Game Show that's been going on these past few days. But in one of them, they said there won't be any new acquisition news at the show with the do not enter emoji, or and people think that, oh, is that a Sonic tease? And there's that new blue Xbox One controller. So they're like, oh, is this a Sonic tease? And like, think they're being cryptic and saying they're going to buy Sega, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen now. I mean, this could be a huge benefit for both, potentially, if they were to buy Sega, but it's not happening. People just need to relax again with Xbox.
I do. I actually am pre-ordering that blue controller because it's so nice.
It's really nice looking blue. Great. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on? I mean, like they are false now, but what are your thoughts on the potential rumors of an idea of Sega being owned by Microsoft?
I think it shows how easily rumors can pick up speed with just a little bit of
traction.
With traction, but also like confirmation bias. You take one or two things that could be true, and it can, if they all make sense together, it can form into a bigger story. It's just, I mean, it would be interesting. I honestly wish the rumors were true, because that would be really interesting. But I mean, it just shows how easily these things can, they can spread like wildfire.
I'm kind of hoping that it's that it's not true and that it's never true, because even if it is, and they don't want people to know yet, of course they're going to say it's not true, and we won't know for certain one way or the other, because we're not involved, we're not in the room, but I will say that I hope that it's not, just because I like Sega. I mean, Luke is more hard on Sega than I can be, but I think that Sega has always kind of been one of its own, and so for it to be under another umbrella is something that would be kind of worrying to me, because I really like some of the Sonic games. So yeah, hopefully it stays the way it is.
Yeah, but also they could maybe give a little more direction with Sega, because Sega has a bunch of IPs outside of Sonic and Yakuza, and they like don't acknowledge them, which
where's my Billy Hatcher sequel?
Yeah, like there's Billy Hatcher,
Please.
there's Knights, they finally did stuff with Monkey Ball, but and then a lot of these games they're letting other companies help out that with the Panzer Dragoon remake and this and that, and how they're not fully associated with Shenmue 3, and these games are coming out and they're either selling well and or being received well, and then Sega just sitting here releasing Sonic Forces. So maybe some better direction from Microsoft could help things out, but also as Johnny has mentioned multiple times with what happened with Rare, that something like that could happen again and it could mess things up. But who knows, man? Rumors are rumors, though. As much fun as it is to go over them, it's nothing that's too crazy. Move on to the next one, a quick one. Amazon announced Luna, which is basically their version of Google Stadia. So another streaming service. You can play a handful of games for a nice price, and it's Amazon servers, so just like Google, it's probably going to run pretty well. But the new service is going to have a introductory price of $5.99 a month, which will include launch games such as Resident Evil 7, Control, A Plague Tale: Innocence, and Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. There's some good games there. And they're it looks like Sonic Mania is going to be on there. It looks like they're having some decent launch titles, which that was one of the big issues that happened with Stadia, is that there wasn't too many good launch titles, and you had to pay for a higher price. So maybe some of this could do something else. Stadia is a nice idea. It just isn't fully there yet. It needs a couple more years, I think, still. And this is probably going to be the same thing. But what are your guys' thoughts then on another streaming console entering the market?
I say welcome aboard. As soon as Stadia was announced, I just kind of knew that Amazon was going to try to get some of that sweet gaming service money.
Jeff Bezos loves to get more of our money.
Exactly, he really does.
He doesn't have
like
enough.
Google, I don't think it's going to catch on right away. Especially if you don't have the internet infrastructure to support game streaming. But they're going to learn from their mistakes and come back better. I don't think we're quite at streaming services for games being mainstream. We're going to be several years away from that, but it's going to come. I honestly think there's going to be a day where we're going to be looking back fondly on consoles the way we classic games. Yeah, so it's a nice idea. I don't think it's going to catch on right away, but eventually it will.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think much is going to happen really ever, but that's just because. Well, I don't know. Who really knows? I'm not too invested in keeping track on what happens going forward with it, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if anything good does come of it. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep our eyes on. I might try to get early access to this just to see how it works. I played around a little bit with Stadia when they made it free during the pandemic, and it was fine, but it's
the price for Luna is actually really reasonable.
Yeah, and so I think the bigger, I said it when I talked about Stadia, I think the bigger thing that's going to help is instead of making it where you have Stadia and you can go out and buy Doom Eternal for $60 on Stadia or on Xbox One, it's better to do more of a Xbox Game Pass approach or a PlayStation Now approach where you pay your $5 a month, $10 a month, or whatever, and then you get access to a curated library of different stuff. And maybe they can have different tiers, so you can pay more to get some better games. But if you want to pay $6 a month, play Yooka-Laylee and Resident Evil 7, cool. If you want to pay an extra $5 a month on that, pay like $10, $11, and you can get games like Doom or Call of Duty. Awesome. I think that's the best approach, at least right now, as it's more of a niche market. But with Amazon jumping in, you definitely knew this was coming, like you said, Connor, after we got the Google Stadia stuff. So two more quick ones.
Are going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So then two more quick ones before we can move into a Luke's Lament and the topic of the week. We got some updates on some Nintendo stuff. We got the Animal Crossing fall update for Halloween, and we also got a Hyrule Warriors update. So first with the Animal Crossing one, they revealed a couple days ago what is going to be coming on September 30th, and it's a bunch of nice stuff just in time for the spooky season of Halloween, since that is October 31st, obviously. So there's gonna be a bunch of Halloween preparations that are gonna be in Nook's Cranny that you can get to gather candy and get all your stuff ready for trick or treating. There's now going to be pumpkins in the game that you can grow and pick to make certain DIY recipes. There's obviously a handful of new outfit choices, and then on Halloween night, there's going to be a bunch of stuff with Jack making an appearance, and looks like the whole island's going to be decorated for Halloween. You'll be able to give out candy and see the costumes from your from your villagers, and then we're also going to see some nice Nook Link upgrades that's going to be coming as well before we get the later updates throughout the rest of the year. So, what are your guys' thoughts on all these new things coming? Is this going to see yourself maybe jump back in for a little bit again on Animal Crossing?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be really good. It's going to be a really fun update, and I think that one thing that makes this different than some of the stuff that we've seen before is that the Halloween update is from 5 p.m. to midnight on Halloween Day. It is 7 hours long, and that is it. Easter was 2-3 weeks long?
Yeah, something like that, roughly.
And everyone was hating Easter. By the time that Easter the day came around, everyone was over Bunny Day, and no one was for it. Everyone was sick of finding eggs. But this is going to be a lot more fun because now you have time to prep for the one big event, and you get to grow pumpkins, which is fun. You get to buy candy, which is fun. You get a new, spooky emotion that's fun, and then you get to celebrate on the actual day of Halloween. I think this is great. I'm a big fan of the spooky season, so I'm really looking forward to more stuff that can be specific to the season.
Yeah. What about you, Connor?
I'm not much of an Animal Crossing guy, but I mean, I also was kind of jumping on the bandwagon of hating Bunny Day just because I was watching Emily play it a lot, and holy cow, was that getting old. But I mean, this looks really cool. I saw the trailer for it, and even though I don't play it very much, it did look really, really cool, and hopefully people won't be getting burned out on it. What do you think, Em?
I'm so excited. Except I didn't even know there was an update, so I'm freaking pumped right now because I was unaware. So I'm literally gonna start playing right after this.
Yeah. So it comes out it comes out in a couple days. So you still have to wait until Wednesday. So when this episode's live, it'll be updated. But yeah, it's coming out soon. And then they mentioned too we're gonna get more updates throughout October, and then another free update coming in late November. That's gonna get us ready for Christmas time as well. So got some things to look forward to with that. So that is nice. And then that was not the only Nintendo thing that we got with the Tokyo Game Show going on. We also got some more information on Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So Johnny, why don't you touch on some of the things that has been revealed over the last few days for that?
Yeah, so there was a new update that a lot of people were speculating that Impa was going to be a playable character, but she has not been confirmed until at the day of recording yesterday. Young Impa will be one of the playable characters. Connor, you played Breath of the Wild, so you probably remember the 100-plus-year-old lady, Impa, at the very beginning of the game. And so now the very, very young, naive version of her will be available to play as well as new gameplay for Link, Zelda, Impa, and Daruk. So we got to see, I'm actually surprised because Link, Zelda, and Impa were characters that I could have assumed that were going to be showing playable, but I only assumed that if any champions were going to be shown, all the champions would be shown. But no, they favored Daruk for some reason. So they showed Daruk gameplay, and he looks like a lot of fun. He has this big boulder crusher item, and he gets to use Daruk's protection. He looks like a lot of fun. This jolly, playable Goron gets to run around and knock the crap out of people. Unfortunately, we didn't get any information on or any gameplay on Rivali or Urbosa or Mifa, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we either get to see it or at the very least get our hands on it ourselves. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's just like 6 or so weeks away.
Yeah,
Really? Oh my gosh, that's like creeping up on us.
It is coming, and that comes right after all the next gen consoles launch. It's a very busy time. I feel bad for all of all the workers at Walmart, Best Buy, Target, and the electronics section, and at GameStop and all that, because those couple weeks before Thanksgiving are going to be rough with all that new stuff. But yeah, that's some nice new stuff for those who are excited for that. And so, before we move into the topic of the week, it is time for another Luke's Lament.
Oh, yes!
So we, over the past, last week, we got some more information about the Spider-Man 4 game. Where the Spider-Man 4 game from 2018 is getting a remaster that's coming with a deluxe edition of Spider-Man Miles Morales. And so, since it's a remaster, it's technically its own separate thing. It is not associated technically with the original 2018 version. And so, like most other remasters, it is going to come with a new set of achievements and trophies. It's going to come with a new save file and all that. And so the internet got very mad because saves won't transfer from the original game to the remaster. And I'm just like, why are you mad about this?
The internet's anger is always righteous.
Oh, that's true. So, like every other remaster that you buy, your saves don't transfer. Like, I just don't get it. Like we're going to get some sort of enhanced remake of one random game that came out on the last gen systems, and it's going to come out on the Xbox Series X. And even though the Xbox Series X can play an Xbox One game, or the PS5 play a PS4 game, it's going to have it be different, and people are going to get mad about it. And it's just like, guys, like, I get that, like, maybe it is kind of shitty that this is how it is in the video game world, but this is how it is. You, like, don't keep your save files. When the Super Mario All-Stars came out, Johnny had to go and rebeat 64 and rebeat Sunshine. Like, it's not one of those where...
The struggle.
Yeah, it's like, sure, it only took Johnny a couple days to go and get all 120 stars on 64, but he had to do it again. And just like how when I buy the Sonic Adventure 2 on the PS3, I knew I had to beat it again compared to the GameCube version, or if I'm going to buy this or that. Like, this happens. When I bought the Modern Warfare 1 remaster in 2016, I had to replay the whole game all the way through, and it's like, it's how it is. I just don't get why people are like so mad about this when, like, this is something that's happened like all the time. People are just like, I don't know what happened. I was excited, I was excited for the new console, and now this, and it's just like, this is nothing new, and I just don't get why people have to get mad about everything. But I should expect it's the internet. Oh, there's a kitty.
Kitty cat.
So
this is Izzy.
Hi, Izzy.
Hi, Izzy.
She's been around a
Welcome
while.
to the
She was
podcast.
actually a member of Alpha Kappa Lambda fraternity. She was on honorary member, not an actual member.
But I mean, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, this is dumb. I mean, it's just, why wouldn't they try to push the PlayStation 5 with stuff like this? Why? It's a new generation. This kind of stuff is going to happen. They're going to announce awesome new titles that are not going to be available on the previous version because they want to push the new thing. Like what is wrong with that? I think, Xbox is coming, off as, backwards compatible and very, very consumer friendly, and PlayStation is, it's a little bit more, I mean, what's the word? It's not, they're coming off as a little bit, meaner, for lack of a better word, I guess. Meaner.
Yeah, but like this same thing is going to
backwards compatible friendly. And why is this a bad thing?
The same thing is going, like I said, the same thing is going to happen when the PS5 version of GTA 5 comes out. It's not going to let you transfer over your save data from the PS3 360 version or the PS4 Xbox One version. Like, it's
But
Like,
the thing is, it's not a brand new game. This is not an all new different take on the game. It's the same game with some perks.
Yeah,
Like, you
it's
still
going to
get
come with all the
the
DLC
basic-
and all the
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like one of the funny ones is if you look on like comment section of that, it's like, well, GTA 5 let you transfer the save data. It's like, no, GTA 5 let you transfer your online data, but if you had the PS3 version of GTA 5 and you bought the PS4 version, you had to start that game all over again for the story mode. So it's
every new console, everyone is blindsided like by news like this, and it's I don't know. How many times are you guys going to get mad about this? Like, how much anger do you hold in your hearts for this? This is, I don't know. This is, console gaming 101.
I know, exactly. There's so many little things like that. It's just like, come on, guys. But, oh well. I just wanted to complain about that for a second. So now we can move into the topic of the week. So as we hinted at last week and talked about at the beginning, we're doing a Super Mario 3D All-Stars Battle to the Death. So each of us has one of the three games that we are going to be debating. So we're going to spend about 2-3 minutes going over why our game is the best of the bunch. Going over things like, story, gameplay, level structure, music, controls, impact, blah, 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 blah. And then we'll spend a couple minutes after that debating it with the other two. So I have Mario 64, Johnny has Mario Sunshine, and Connor has Galaxy. And so it would be a situation where I'll give my reasons for 64, and then Johnny and Connor will give some of their arguments to why I am wrong with mine, and then I can defend those points or anything like that. So we'll do that, and then with Emily as a special guest, she will be the final judge, as she is a big Mario fan as well, so she can help give us some her take on it and of which one she thinks is the winner based off of these debates. All right, so the first game we'll be doing is Mario 64, which is my game. So I think Mario 64 is the best of the bunch for a lot of reasons, but the biggest is the groundwork that it laid. Sunshine and Galaxy took what 64 did and try to tweak it and change it up to make it unique. But the base of both of those games is Mario 64. And while some of the changes they used with Flood or with the space setting they've helped in some ways, it wasn't enough to set it apart from the original for what it did. So in the gameplay and the levels, all of them are relatively similar with its level design and gameplay, with things like Flood and the motion controls helping set it apart. But I think one of the biggest areas where 64 really shines is the levels. You have double the amount of levels in 64 than Sunshine, and the levels are more expansive than what you see in Galaxy. So each level is a mini playground that you can go through with Bomb Battlefield, Dire Docks, TikTok Clock, and all that, where they're big. Like I said, they're essentially a big playground where you can go and use all of the controls well. And that moves into another point: the controls. The controls in 64, they got it pretty much perfect right out of the gate. Sure, there's things that could have been improved here and there, but Mario's controls for the first time in a 3D game in 64 are really strong, and it's ones that have held up pretty well over the times. As you can use Mario pretty freely, and he has a good mix of speed and balance with it compared to the other games. He's a little too fast in Sunshine, a little too slow in Galaxy. He's just right, I think, in 64. But that can move us really quickly to the camera as I kind of more wrap it up. Yes, this is one of the weaker points in the game, but it's not like it got much better in the other two. While you have more control over the camera in Sunshine, the default camera is still pretty trash in Sunshine. And Galaxy has probably the best default camera, but you have a lot less camera control. So really, it comes down to all three games suffer from the same issue, but Mario 64 laid the groundwork from the beginning. So that's why I think 64 is the better one out of the bunch, and that's not even going off of how much more it influenced Odyssey. But that is mine. So now it is moving on to Johnny's turn for Mario Sunshine.
Okay, so there are a lot of reasons why I think that Sunshine is the best. But one of them, so I'll start with the story. It's basically he's going on vacation. He gets accused of a crime, your typical vacation story. And he's tasked to clean the entire island. So the level design is all very tropical and very fun and it gives you this feeling that you are actually on a video game vacation. And so the happy feeling that you get from that is something that can't be bested by 64 or Galaxy. Adding Flood into the game really does implement it increases platforming abilities, and it really allows for creative thinking when it comes to trying to get the shine, which is the star equivalent for sunshine. And not only that, but when aside from the allowing for the increased platforming abilities and creative thinking, it allows for interesting level design in each of the worlds that is similar to, and this might seem like a stretch until you really think about it, it's similar to Breath of the Wild in the sense that there are multiple ways that you can get any shine in a lot of levels. Like if you remember Noki Bay or Rico Harbor or Pinna Park, those are all really good examples of how you can have 2, 3, a dozen different ways to achieve a shine at the end of the level. Not only that, but there's more stars in each world in this game than in any other world in 64 or Galaxy, especially. There might be more worlds in 64, but the worlds in this game are a lot bigger, more in depth, and giving them more space and kind of a playground to run around and achieve those stars in any way that you really want to. Not only that, but it's the first and so far only game that has voice acting from Bowser and Junior. And the relationship that shows between the two is it's pure, and it is the pure father-son relationship that all dads strive to have. So a vote against Sunshine is a vote against a healthy father-son relationship.
Okay, then. All right. So, Connor, then that means it is now your turn for Super Mario Galaxy.
I think Super Mario Galaxy is the superior of all of these games, and there's a few different points I'd like to touch on. And the first one I'm going to go with is the presentation of the game, the looks, the music, the lights and clockwork of the game. It's all fantastic. It looks very sleek. It being getting a little bit of a boost for 3D All Stars only adds to the magic of it. When you're playing levels like Freeze Flame, Throwback, Honey Hive, and Toy Time, it looks amazing. The controls are great. The music is top notch. I love the orchestral arrangements they have for all of the levels. I think the hub world, it has the best hub world music in my opinion. The space background is just gorgeous. On top of that, it introduced some great new characters as well. We have like Toad Brigade, the Lumas, and Mommy Rosalina. Just Rosalina. I think for all of these, the controls are the most modern and I think the most impressive. It could stand up next to Mario 64, who did it first. I think Galaxy did it right, though. It has, all sorts of different planets with their own gravitational pull, and it could have been made herky-jerky like that. But no, it flows really well, seamlessly with these controls. The transition from Wii to Wii U and now the Switch is pretty dang smooth, whether you're using the controllers in your in each hand or you're using that little thing that makes it look like a classic controller. It works great. I think it's aged the best. This is the only game in the bunch where you don't say that was a product of its time. It's innovative. It's the biggest game and has the longest gameplay time at like 22 to 23 and a half hours long, which is not the completionist time. And I think out of all of these, it's, just the presentation, the way it's aged, it just works the best. And that's why I think Galaxy is clearly the superior choice.
Okay. So, all of us gave, some more big points, and now I can move on into just kind of a discussion with each game where all of us will kind of go back and forth of where we go with some of my points. You guys can give some of your counterpoints. I can give some other points that I didn't touch on in the 2 minutes. So, we'll spend roughly about 5 minutes on this before we go to the other games as well. So first with 64, what are some counterpoints you guys have that will defend your games outside of a couple things you've already said in your defense?
I have the most important one. Tick-tock motherfucking clock. It is the most challenging world in any of the 3 games, and it is notorious for being the not like challenging is not necessarily a fair word. I think unfair is the best way to word it. Challenging would be Rainbow Ride, which I do feel like does a good job of mixing difficulty with the controls that you have. But Tick-Tock Clock is unfair, and even 20 years later, there's it still hurts the people who have been gaming, like myself and many others who are playing this again over a decade later. So
Maybe you're just bad.
no, you go ahead and try it. You go ahead and try it, and then come back to me and tell me that Tick-Tock Clock is a fun world to be in.
I'll just I guess before I start, I'm gonna say it has aged well, just imperfectly. The controls are a bit slippery. I mean, Mario slides like a lot when you stop, like a lot, and it does make the worlds a lot harder. Some people find joy in that. I don't. I think it's just clunky. And I gotta say, I think my main one, my most important argument against 64 is the levels are not as replayable as a lot of people say. Some of the bosses are stupid simple to beat, and they're like long moments where Mario's like swimming through these tunnels, and it's just him swimming, and it's a drag. Honestly, some parts of the levels, some parts of the games are just flat out boring.
I mean, every game has a poor water level. Unfortunately, it's just been an issue
Through your teeth
in video games.
Sometimes got some pretty great water levels, actually.
But here's the other. Here's one of the other ones I have too. Out of all the games in the remaster, 64 had the least amount of things they had to do to it to get it up and running on the Switch. Where with Sunshine they had to tweak the controls because of Flood and the lack of analog controls, since the game controls are not compatible, which is a counterpoint for stuff like that. But so you have that. You have Galaxy, where they had to go and they had to figure out how you're going to make the motion controls work, because you used so much heavy motion controls with shaking the remote to do your spin, using the pointer to click the star bits. They had to do all that, and where 64 they just had to up-res the textures and make sure that it ran well, and they used the fixed version that did take out a glitch, but I mean that is a good thing for a lot of people, but also a bad thing because it did take away the backwards long jump. But oh well, like the game performs just as well on the Switch as it did on the 64, just with a slightly higher coat of paint, where these other two games, you have to go and you have to tweak some things. You're playing on a better controller, and an analog stick is better than the C buttons, but it replicates a lot of it, and it's on, in my opinion, a better controller on the Switch than the 64. So that's one of the big other ones I have. And plus two, out of all the games that Odyssey replicated more, I feel like Odyssey took more from 64's design than the other two. While you have Cappy has a lot of similarities with Flood with what it does with your movement, for them it's a more grounded approach, like what you saw in 64 compared to Sunshine and Galaxy.
I will say that just because there were the fewest changes made in 64 to the Switch, compared to the other two titles, that doesn't mean that there's the fewest changes that should have been made for the Switch. I think that there's a lot of things that could have been done to make make 64 a lot better. And I mean, graphics aside, that's iconic, and so I'm not going to argue that, because yes, it was a product of its time, but there's not really much you can do about that. So I'll leave graphics alone, but I will say that the gameplay is a little dated. Not gameplay, but the controls, I guess I should specify, are a little dated. His jumping just feels like you need to, like, his first jump is always weak, and I feel like you need to do a second or even third jump to finally get to where you need, like, where you want to go in most cases. And as being like named Jumpman, that's kind of a difficult thing to have. Trying to form an argument right now, but Connor, if you have anything, you can go ahead.
The camera is fucking horrible. Bleeping horrible. I mean, yeah. So that,
I mean, it's bad. It's bad in all three games in a way. Though.
That's the the most obvious one, though. I think that's just like the most glaring. It's low hanging fruit, especially with something that was made in 1996. So I'm gonna give the camera props because it's the first one. It had nothing to go on, but I mean, it's the camera is one of the most glaring things, other than just the blocks. Mario's made out of blocks. Those are the two things that really date the game.
So the last one I'll say before we move on into Sunshine then too as well. This is the only one out of this that was a launch title too. So they also did this on completely new hardware when no one else had done stuff too. Where Sunshine, the GameCube had already been out for a couple years. The Wii had already been out for a couple years. So when 64 came out, it was the game that people who boot up their 64 for the first time had. And so I think that's another big one, that it was doing this without anything to go off of, and it basically created the collectathon genre. So that is my last point I have as well. But we can move on into.
Well, before I want to make one last thing. I was trying to think of how to word it earlier, but in the game you said that there were 15 worlds, but some of them are kind of copies of themes with one another. Like there are 2 snow worlds, which never really made sense to me, and then there's also the 2 water worlds, which if one wasn't enough. Oh boy, you get a second one. There's the and then there's also Bowser is in a fire world, and there's also another regular fire world. So yes, there might be more worlds to go through, but it seems like they weren't able to come up with new ideas as easily back then without rehashing some of the stuff they already had in that very same game. So that's my last.
I mean, most of like pretty much all of Sunshine takes place in a tropical setting. So you have,
and yet they do so well of making them all different.
But I mean, like that's kind of the same thing. But now we can move on into Sunshine. So, Connor, what all do you want to say against Sunshine that Galaxy or even 64 would have over it?
I mean, the first thing I have to say, like right out of the bat, that introduction takes for fucking ever. Oh my god! There was more voice acting than I was anticipating, and it was a little interesting at first. Then it just kind of got a little awkward and clunky, and could have been better. But that was I just got the first thing out of the bat. Holy shit! That 10-minute introduction was just a drag. I would say one thing that makes Super Mario Galaxy superior is that, so like in Sunshine, you're reliant on the water, the Super Soaker,
Flood
3000 Flood, yeah. But with Galaxy, I mean, nothing is weighing you down. You get to be anything.
Except gravity.
From, you get gravity. I mean, you get to be a B Mario, Fire Mario, Ice Mario. You get a lot. So that's one thing I would say. Luke?
So I think the biggest thing that hurt Sunshine more than the other 2 games is how rushed Sunshine was. The GameCube was off to a rough start, and with Sunshine coming out, they needed it to come out, and they needed it to do well. And so the game is rushed, and which does show at times, because it does have some pretty janky moments with the physics being all wonky, or with things not properly working, that even a launch title like 64 didn't have some of those issues. Like, yes, every game has glitches, every game has those weird random faults. All 3 games have an instance where something goes wrong with the camera control. It's not just the hotel in Sunshine or just the issues of the camera in something like TikTok Clock. Like, you have it in all 3 games. But the biggest thing I think that has hurt Sunshine since the beginning was how they had to rush development, and so like the game isn't as fully realized as it could have been, and I think that is something that does hurt it, because it's missing more of what it could have been.
I will say that while it was rushed, and I don't think, to me personally, I don't think it's as obvious as some people say it is. I think that the worlds, I think what they did instead was they cut back on the amount of worlds that were going to originally be in it, rather than cutting back on the quality of the worlds that were still in it at the end, at the final release. And to implement the keeping of 120 stars pattern, they added the blue coins, which still allows for there to be 120 stars in the end. and Flood actually, because of the like kind of wonky control scheme that 64 had, Flood does a really good job of being able to mitigate some of the players who are maybe not as experienced as some others. And so to have that extra, the hover nozzle to be able to correct your own mistakes and still get onto the ledge, if that's what you need, then that's really good to have as well. And there's a lot of fun. I mean, the rocket nozzle and the turbo nozzle both are really fun implementations into the game. Being able to have the turbo nozzle and rushing around the Sunshine Delfino Plaza is one of the most fun things you can do in a Mario game.
I think,
and I would argue. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, there are some. I mean, the levels are fun, but there are some things in it that are kind of aggravating and do show a little bit how much it was.
The blue coins.
The
the blue coins.
I don't know how to say it. I've only ever read it. Piantas.
Yeah.
They throw. There's a level where they have to throw you.
I'm a chuckster.
Onto a platform, and instead they'll throw you into space, or you'll bounce one on the platform and you'll go into space or whatever, and that is just
one
aggravating as all get out.
One minigame in the entire game. That is one minigame that they do that, and so yeah, it is frustrating.
Well, I would also throw, and I hate to step on your words right now. It's all tropical. It's one location. It's in Galaxy you get, well, in Super Mario Galaxy you get entire galaxies. In 64 you even get more locations and more types of locations. But in Super Mario Sunshine it's all a tropical beach vacation.
It is, but
and the hotel sucks.
You have an amusement park, you have a ghost-filled hotel, you have a sunset beach, you have a little village, you have a volcano, you have a town of like a little like a harbor. You have a waterfall, like a big like Niagara Falls-esque waterfall. There are a lot of tropical themes involved because it is an island and you kind of have to have water and everything. But the way that they were able to separate stuff in some of the particular themes that they had, I think is genius and really does pull on the like vacation vibe a little bit. Also, it's the only game of these three that has Yoshi. So
one other, we can go on about the blue coins and all that, but we have to move on into Galaxy. The one last one I do want to say too about Sunshine that does all set apart. This is the only one that Nintendo kind of like kept away until this collection. So 64 got remade for the Nintendo DS, and while people have their gripes with that one, if they love it more, hate it more, it got remade that, and it was on the Virtual Console for the Wii. And you can play on the Wii U. Galaxy was on the Wii and it was on the Wii U. This is the first time that Sunshine has been back on a system, and part of that is because of the reception that it got. That people like that Nintendo kind of didn't want to like put it back out there for so long, and so that is
Luke, people like to hide their treasure. Okay. Their treasure is theirs, and they don't always like to share it with everyone. Sometimes it belongs behind a safe.
But when it's Mario, when almost every other... I mean, think about it. You can play the original Super Mario Brothers on, like, 30 billion different things. And this, like, if this is one that's supposed to be one of their biggest, why have we had to wait, 18 years just to get it again? So... that's the last one I have. So now we can move on into Galaxy with Connor. And so...
actually, we don't, because Galaxy wins.
All right. Ooh. So the one I have first, Connor, is Galaxy probably has the most refined camera out of the three games, because they don't let you do as much maneuvering in it because of like the more smaller focused level design. But the camera still has a lot of issues. There's still so many times where you're jumping and it looks like you're going to hit the ledge, and then the depth perception because of the camera throws you off, and then you still fall and die. Like that's still, I mean, that's a pretty minor one compared to some of the other bigger issues that you can find in something like a Sunshine or even 64. But that still is a really big issue. And that's not even going into all of the motion control stuff. Like, sure, it's not as big of a deal as some other games. There's still some stuff that is like minor stuff, but there still is a lot of motion controls that you have to do that by the end of a playthrough especially on the original version, your wrist is pretty tired. And so while that may be alleviated in the Switch version, that's still a big issue that the game has had its entire life.
I want to add that even if the control, the negative camera control was equal between all three games, I think it should hurt Galaxy the most because it's the newest game and it has less of an argument than Sunshine and 64 being a product of its time, that Galaxy's camera should be better, but it's just not. And so
Galaxy's the only one that either wasn't rushed or on brand new hardware. Like,
yeah, that too.
So
I mean, the game is still 13 years old.
Yeah,
no,
but
like it's still,
you have to remember
still
the
some
newest.
age. But I mean, if anything, you're saying it's not great because it's the newest. That still shows it's the best. It still is the best.
What he's trying to say is that it has a lot of issues with the camera still. That a game that came out 11 years after Mario 64 and 5 years after Sunshine, and just in general, like a long time after we've seen games both by Nintendo, Sony, Sega, a lot of games that have gotten the camera a lot more right, and that this game still has issues with a camera on better hardware and one that it shouldn't have the issue to, especially with the way they have the camera set up with these smaller levels. I think at least that's what I'm getting Johnny's trying to say.
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
it's
that's-
not, it's not because it's the newest.
Say, like with all the different planets you're going to be on in these levels in these galaxies, you're going to be hopping from planet to planet. The camera is going to have to catch up to you a little bit, but I think they still do very well. It could have been as herky-jerky as 64. I mean, apparently 64 was bad, even like the camera was bad even in 1996, but like with this one, I think it goes to show how well it does, because it could have been a lot worse with how many different planets you're going to be hopping.
I want to add, so switching gears a little bit, that there are a lot of different themes with the worlds, and there's definitely more differences that Galaxy has compared to Sunshine and 64. But because of that, there's a lot less in-depth that they can go to with them. I feel like each world is definitely less realized and less experienced because of such a brief time that you're in and out of each planet. 64 does a really good job. You can get 10 or so stars in each world, and then you're out of there. Sunshine, same thing. You spend a lot of time in each world that it's kind of a character of itself. But in Galaxy, you don't get that feeling. You're in there for 2 or 3 stars, and then you're gone, and you don't go back ever. And it's kind of, there's around 20 or 30 different worlds to go to. A lot of them get forgotten.
I mean, I would have to disagree, because you have the different comets that arrive in these galaxies where you play through it once and you beat it, and you can move on and go to the next place. However, there are speedy comets or cosmic comets that come back and make you speed run it, or make you run against Galaxy Mario. Or there's Daredevil Comet, which makes you play the boss character with just 1 hit point left. And I mean, you don't need the replayability, which is not your argument. It's just a different argument that could be made, when the replayability is literally built into the original story. And you get to experience that all over again.
I think that one thing that definitely, in a sense, you have kind of defended my point, which is that, like, rather than making, even though you get yet another chance to go back in with these comets, it's still a variation to make a star that you already completed different, whether it's a race or a 1 hit point or speedy foes or whatever it is. It's still the same thing that you've already done in the already very, very few chances that you get to be on those planets. So they're definitely not realizing them as much as they can. Yes, it shakes it up a little bit, but I think that kind of aspect would be better suited for 64 or Sunshine, where you already get to know the worlds very, very well and more in depth than you do in Galaxy.
I mean, I don't know. It's the longest gameplay, has the most amount of levels as well. I mean, if you think you're not in a certain galaxy long enough, I mean, I guess that would be more up to personal preference. But with so many galaxies to choose from, you're gonna find the ones that are, that are just right for you.
The one last one I have to add as well. This is more on Nintendo's blunder post-release, but one of the other things that hurts Galaxy is Galaxy 2, and actually one of the big ones is going to the plot. The Centennial Star Festival is held every 100 years, yet it takes place in Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2, and so, I mean, that's more of an issue with Galaxy 2, and which isn't on there, but the fact that the game, like, the premise of the game set up doesn't even get to stay. It like gets redone again, and to some people it gets done better in Galaxy 2 because it's more realized. And that's a whole different debate on the Galaxy games. We don't have Galaxy 2 unfortunately on this, which is too bad because like it is the fourth one missing. Even if it does have a lot of similarities to the first one, it still like would be better to have on there. But that's a whole different thing. So that was the last point I would have. If you have any rebuttal for that real fast, Connor, before we move on to the next part.
I don't know. I've never played Galaxy 2, but I imagine, like, why is he in two different Galaxy festivals if they're held every 100 years? I think it's because Bowser ruined the first one from Galaxy 1.
The reason is because it's a retelling of the same story, just altered a little bit. Which is sort of a defense, but also at the same time, Nintendo felt the need to completely tell the story over again because I guess it wasn't good enough the first time. So,
and yeah,
I don't have a rebuttal to that. I've never played Galaxy 2.
So that is with that one. So now we can all give our last couple points of why, just our last few things of defense as well, of why ours is the superior one. And so for me with 64, one of the last big ones I want to say is going back to the legacy that it has, that if you don't have 64, you don't have Sunshine and Galaxy to take and do their thing with, and in some ways improve upon, some ways fall flat upon individual. You have that one. And then the other is what it means for that console. While all three of these games are some of the best selling on each console, 64 is the only one that is the best selling game on it. And sure, with the Wii, you have to take out Wii Sports and Mario Kart Wii and Wii Sports Resort because those are pack-in titles. But Galaxy is still behind Smash and Wii Fit and Wii Play and some other games. And you have Sunshine is behind like games like Double Dash and Melee. So 64 is like basically everyone who had a 64 had Mario 64. Everyone who had a GameCube, everyone who had a Wii didn't always have Galaxy or Sunshine.
So I want to make two major points to Sunshine, and the first one is that it is the most developed world compared to within the three of these. 64, when you're playing it, it feels like a very lonely game. Mario is going through a castle. He doesn't really have many allies. Even the Toads are kind of helpless. There's not really anybody on his side. Sunshine, there are so many different people there. They invent two completely new races with the Pianta and the Noki, and there's a lot of friends there. All the Toads there are a lot more interactive. Toadsworth is introduced, and even Peach, before she gets kidnapped in World 4, she's there to interact with. There's towns that you go to, people you get to interact with, and people that have distinct personalities. Galaxy also doesn't have the same thing. It's less lonely than 64, but there's definitely nobody there except for Rosalina and the Lumas. The second one is that while you could make the argument that because it's the only one of the three that hasn't been re-released until this point, it is definitely not a throwaway in the pack. It is the one that, because of its lack of re-release until now, it's the one that most people were most excited about because they hadn't played it in so long. If this was a game that was just kind of a throwaway and a trash game that no one cared about, then they would have been pumped about 64 and Galaxy alone. But the fact that it is iconic, it is a lot of fun, and it is tugging on the nostalgia a lot, Sunshine is a game that is more worth a first place in this debate than the other two.
All right, okay, and then Connor?
For 3D All-Stars, both Sunshine and 64 have shown their age. But for Super Mario Galaxy, it looks the best. It has aged the most gracefully. It's about how it's the longest game, it's the most immersive game with, I think, the biggest variety of levels out of all three of these games. And it introduced Mommy Rosalina, who is, oh my god. She makes me question some things about myself.
Fair.
Hey.
Your wife is right there.
Wow. You're just hurting
my
yourself
love,
now.
You watched me play Mario Galaxy just recently for like 15 to 20 hours. You have to know how amazing Galaxy is.
You did not play 15 to 20 hours.
I have.
Well, I love. Anyways, I'm not gonna say my.
I know you
opinion.
love all of them. I know you love all of them. We all love all of them. We're all winners. But
We're all winners.
64 and Sunshine get participation trophies because Galaxy is the winner.
So, Emily, how you should announce this is third place. Say it first, and then the first place.
Yeah. But I mean, you can also react to all of the.
Yeah. Let us know what you
arguments,
think. Your
Yeah.
opinions on our summaries of the games.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Emily has played all of these games. She's grew up with Mario. She knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, can I do it?
Yep.
Just do it.
Yeah, you say third place, then first place.
Okay, wait, but I do want to add in that the camera does suck for all three of these games. I have played them all since 3D All-Stars came out, and
Fair.
like each one sucks. So I feel like that can't even be a counter towards anyone because they all suck.
Yeah, but 64 seconds.
That's fair.
Oh, Galaxy, you're like upside down and you're trying to control it, and then you're going the wrong way.
I know.
So,
I know exactly.
And then
Yeah.
Sunshine gets stuck on a wall, and you're like, I can't see anything.
Like the hotel part of Sunshine is always the most rough because like that camera in there just is like, oh, I'm just not working anymore.
Yep. Yeah. So, I think you guys all made very good points. It's been rough because I definitely have a bias, but I'm trying to not think about that. So I think third place, even though my bias says otherwise, is going to be Sunshine. Sadly.
Okay,
Big
Emily,
oof.
I thought you cared about father-son relationships, but
Oh, yeah, that was
guess
one
you can-
I forgot to mention it in
your
the.
brother and your father about how you disregard their relationship completely.
I forgot to mention that during the debate, during like the counterpoint. But Bowser having a real human voice is not something that we need in any Mario game ever again. That was way too weird. I mean, Bowser Jr. whatever, he's a kid, but Bowser in a regular voice, like, and I mean, that's never came back. So I mean,
Yeah, it's gold, and honestly, I think all the dads and sons out there are really disappointed in your lack of support, Emily. So I hope you have trouble sleeping tonight and for the rest of your nights because of this vote.
Well, and my bias totally says different. For me, actually, Sunshine is probably my favorite game. Although,
Good.
I do understand.
So that's all that matters.
Yeah. I do understand what they're saying about, like, it is all in, like, one vacation world, and it's not like there's, like, you know, like a ton of different worlds like Galaxy and 64 have. So I understand that, and you slip around so much, and it's so annoying. Okay. First place, I want to say just because it was... Wait, I'm struggling. You're going to have to cut this out.
It's
First
also me.
place is 64.
let's
damn
go.
It's okay. A, it's revolutionary. B, it it guided everything for all of the Mario games.
So
And-
B, it's revolutionary.
It's-
A, it's revolutionary. B, it's revolutionary.
Z, it's revolutionary.
And it's just like, it still holds up. Like, I was playing it and I genuinely was having a good time. And I liked it.
So you weren't having a good time with the others?
No, I was,
Wow.
but I genuinely was like so
So
nostalgic. But then
she hates father-son relationships, and she hates her own husband and his opinions.
Exactly.
And-
It's like, do you even need me for this relationship?
Well, and Galaxy's amazing too. The worlds are insane. For me, I think 64 is just that like, I remember my brother playing it with my parents, and my parents were actually involved because they've never seen anything like that before. And then when I was
So
old enough to
C,
play
it's
it, it was-
revolutionary.
What?
Nothing.
I demand a recount.
What?
I think. Okay, so our mediator is a bit criminally insane. I think we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to do this again, but with someone who knows what they're talking about.
I played all
joking.
3 of these.
Like,
games,
yeah,
and
I mean, like,
liked
this is
them
one of the
all.
better ones we have because she's played all 3. You know, it's, I mean, I like,
Okay, winner. I'm sure that's what your defense is.
no, but I mean, like, yeah, all 3 games have their issues, and all 3, like, and we brought up all the points, but I do think, and I think, I mean, I think Emily agreed with a big reason, but I think a big reason what makes 64 so, like, big is that if it wasn't for what this did, it wouldn't have led to what Sunshine and Galaxy were able to do. And, like, that is a huge thing because, like, they did all that. And then that would have also led us to getting Odyssey, which, you know, like, I think takes the best out of all 3 and really refines it even more. And, like, I mean,
Agreed.
I think Odyssey is the best out of the 4 of like those 3 in that one.
Well, and I will say that 64 definitely was on the, like, you know, more like pushing the goods of the other game side. 64 definitely pioneered what is good about the games, whereas Luke made a good example of, if it weren't for Sunshine, maybe Bowser would have voice acting in every single other game after. So,
Well, maybe Sunshine shouldn't have been the 3rd place.
Maybe if Sunshine, you know, had to take the heat a little bit so that Odyssey doesn't have Bowser voice acting. I don't know. Like, maybe it was somebody has to take the fall. And no, but I think that 64 is, even like Emily said, 20 years later, 24 years later, still a blast. And Galaxy, I was arguing a lot of stuff about 64 and Galaxy. And most of it, it doesn't really bug me. I think they're both phenomenal games. I will say everything I said about TikTok Clock is true, though. I unfortunately cannot go back on TikTok Clock, but everything else is iconic and wonderful and a lot of fun. Galaxy is a fantastic game. It brings in Mama Rosalina. I mean, that itself deserves a win, in my opinion.
That itself is a first
when we think
place,
about it,
yeah.
so I mean, we've seen other, like, different characters that have been introduced. Well, in 64 didn't have it. We saw characters introduced in, I guess King Babam has made appearances, but out of all of the characters that have been introduced in these 3 games, Rosalina is the only one that's, like, really had a longer impact outside of a cameo in party games or in Mario Kart Tour. Like, she's become a mainstay of the series, where King Babam and
Piantas
and the Piantas, like, they make cameos in Mario Kart and all that, and it's just like, oh, cool. But yeah,
they stuck around the GameCube era when there was, like, baseball games and they needed like really minor characters to fill the roster with, like, more Piantas and Nokis. They stuck around for those kind of things. Like, after, like, 5 years after Sunshine, they kind of dropped off. And actually, around the time Galaxy came out, and that was the new big thing, that's kind of when Piantas and Nokis totally disappeared. So, Thanks a lot, Galaxy.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, the main thing is that, like, if you're a nerd, like, technically, like, all of these downsides to the games that we've mentioned, they are not deal breakers at all for any of these games. The camera's not great in 64, but I mean, it's still revolutionary, and it's still fun. Yeah, and I know I made a gripe about some of the bosses being super easy, but there's plenty of levels that are really, really difficult.
Also, Mario has always had easy bosses. Like, you go back and play the original games, like, it's one of those two. If we would have complained about how, like, if Johnny would have talked about how Sunshine is one of the ones that really, like, has, like, a more set story outside of the basic Bowser kidnaps Peach thing, like, every Mario game outside of, like, Sunshine really is Bowser kidnaps Peach and Mario goes and rescues her. Where, like, at least Sunshine does things change up a little bit and all that, but, like, for the most part, you buy a mainline Mario
Sunshine,
game.
He eventually kidnaps Peach.
Exactly. And so it's
I mean, Shadow Mario kidnaps Peach too. So it's just someone's kidnapping Peach.
Like, and that's basically every single Mario game plot. And you know, there's things like that like. There's problems in this game. There's problems in every game. I mean, all these games aren't Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, so I mean, you have that too. But yeah, it definitely was a nice, fun debate. I was worried there that I was not going to come out on top, but you know, as the winner, make sure you go play all these games because they are wonderful.
Being, you know, first of 3 is a lot like being a top fan on Facebook.
Exactly. So, but that was definitely fun, and I'd like to have Emily come and give her opinions on that. And so we can move on into recommendations. And so Johnny recommended us 1BR, and just like his last recommendation, Johnny kind of went against the grain of what we have been doing in the past, where one of his last recommendations with the Donkey Kong Country cartoon was more of one for the experience, not as much one he would recommend because he likes it. This one, he recommended 1BR after he watched the trailer because he wanted us to see it as well. So Johnny hadn't even seen it either. So we all watched it for the first time. What were your guys' thoughts on this? Johnny, since you recommended it, let's start with you.
I am very disappointed in myself. I think that I am probably, I like the idea that I had with Donkey Kong and recommending something that is more cringe than quality, but I don't think I'm ever going to recommend something I have not seen before, because this is a good example of recommending something that is just not enjoyable. I just did not have a good time with this one.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know. I don't usually enjoy a lot of these. I think a lot of the psychological thrillers and things like this. A lot of them are pretty tired because they're predictable in a lot of ways, and even if there's some that they throw you a wrench, they're still the basic plot stuff that they're like felt like a huge ripoff of Get Out.
Yeah.
It did, and just they're taking that and just tweaking a few things. It's kind of like my favorite meme where it's the plot of Pocahontas for Disney's Pocahontas, and then you scratch out a couple things and change the wording, so then it's James Cameron's Avatar. It's things like that where it was like they took a page long description of Get Out and changed a few things around. And said, here we go, here's 1BR, but. Yeah, not the best movie. I know there were some enjoyable parts here and there, some weird parts here and there too. But it's.
I thought the concept was pretty great. I think the execution is where it fell flat. The 1BR, it's just kind of for 25 minutes. It was really boring. It was a lot of setup in the first. I was just telling the guys before we actually pressed record. We were kind of making our comments about it. The first high tension part of the movie didn't come until about 23 and a half minutes in, and that was just the pipes wigging out. And I mean, apparently later it's not the pipes, but spoilers, and I don't know if our listeners actually care about the spoilers for this movie, but the setup for the entire movie, it was really painful. The fact that it's kind of a cult, there's many different ways you could have taken this, but I don't know. It's
no rubber.
It's definitely no rubber, and I'm not going to be watching this ever again.
So
yeah, it was disappointing, and I was expecting more to happen, but everything that was in the trailer, which I didn't recommend to you guys because I thought it was going to spoil the whole movie, it was worse than that, and it spoiled everything in the first 30 minutes. And
30 minutes of an hour and a half movie.
Yeah, and then I was like, wow, this is nothing like I thought it was going to be, which is not what you want from a trailer. You don't want it to spoil everything, but you also want it to accurately depict what the movie is about, and it was not good on either front. So it was disappointing, and it was definitely a cheap Get Out look-alike, basically.
Yeah. So Connor, what would you give it in your rating out of 10?
I would probably give this a 3 out of 10 stress positions.
Yeah. I would give it a 3 no pets allowed in the apartment out of 10.
Oh no. I would give this 3 out of 10 almost killed angry dads.
Came pretty close, yeah. I hope this doesn't discourage any of us from recommending things we haven't seen, but I just hope it makes us a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, Johnny.
Yeah.
What's funny is out of you probably were thinking, oh, this will be nice and this will be good reaction, and you thought you were gonna get a worse reaction than a Donkey Kong, but I think I enjoyed the Donkey Kong shitty cartoon more than this. But hey,
maybe I'll recommend.
Oh
a few
my
more
god,
episodes
that's
of Donkey
actually
Kong in the
saying a
future.
lot.
I don't know, man. The Donkey Kong cartoon was bad, but it was one of those. It was like that one, Johnny. What was that? What was the movie we saw with Joe. We saw it when you were in Omaha for your birthday with.
With Ian.
Yeah, we saw Ian. The Joey King was the main actress in it. It was the Wishing movie.
The Wish Upon.
Oh God, that was another one. Like that. That was a movie that it was like so bad that like you couldn't turn away. It was like watching a car wreck.
Oh my God, that was iconic movie.
So that one before quick tangent. So that one, Wish Upon is what it's called. So I don't think when they were making this movie, they were expecting people to laugh at the final, the last scene that happens. But the fact that the entire the entire theater laughed for that is not a good thing.
No, definitely not.
That was a pretty bad movie. But
the first review I saw for Wish Upon on Rotten Tomatoes is I just have to read this out loud from Josh Howie on Rotten Tomatoes. Wishing this film out of existence right now.
Yeah. And it's that definitely, that's not my recommendation for this week, but that is if you want to watch a bad movie and laugh at how bad it is, go watch that one. It has Joey King as the main actress. It has Shannon Purser, who was Barb in in Stranger Things. R.I.P. Barb. But yeah, that's a pretty bad movie. Definitely one of the worst that I've ever seen in theaters. But we can move on then into my recommendation, which so I was thinking some different things here and there. And so the one I'm doing this week is there's this YouTuber named Cybershell. I've mentioned a couple times, I think, on this show before. So he is essentially the Sonic lore master. He's been on YouTube for quite a long time. He's been making Sonic videos since 2008. And so he made some Let's Plays where he went and played through the first three Sonic games, Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles. And then he kind of just like turned it into a shit show, and would even do a commentary on a commentary on a commentary on a Let's Play, and just a bunch of other little things like that, and going into some deep secrets. But he had a stretch about 3 years ago where he was making some really interesting videos about Sonic, like stuff like why the best way to play Sonic 3, some obscure Sonic games, why Sonic 4 was bad, issues at Knuckles Chaotix, a bunch of lore about Sonic 2 and Sonic CD. And then he disappeared for about 2 years after he made a Patreon account and was getting money to people. So he disappeared for 2 years and then comes back, and for about a week and a half had videos every single day. First it was about Sonic, but then he did a few that weren't about Sonic, talking about Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie, and a few other stuff like that. So I want to recommend one of his videos that he came back on because it's really interesting. It's a little long, but it's kind of on brand for me. It's his "What the Hell Are Chow" video. So it's an hour and 15 minutes on Chow from the Sonic Adventure games. And so he goes pretty deep in the lore, and it can kind of get you a good feel of what his style is too, with his humor and some of the other things he does there. So I tagged it. The link is there on the notes page for you guys, and so you can watch that there, or you can search "What the Hell Are Chow" by Cybershell. So that is my recommendation. So enjoy this hour 14 minute 38-second video on little blue orbs from Sonic games, and then as tradition with our episodes with special guests, since Emily is joining us this week, we also have the ability for her to give a recommendation as well. So if she wants to recommend us to play a certain video game or demo, or watch a certain TV show, movie, listen to a certain album, she can do that now as well.
Cool. So if you like The Simpsons, you should watch Futurama. That's the show I've been obsessed with lately. I think it's better than The Simpsons. I don't know why. I think it's just the right amount of humor for me.
Is there a certain episode or episodes that you want us to watch, or a listener to watch, and if they have never watched the show before?
Probably just the first two. They're really good introductions to the whole storyline. No, that's sad. No, that's not a good one to introduce people to the story.
Yeah, are you telling him to watch the episode when he finds out about the dog? No.
No, not that one.
No,
Okay.
there was one where... Anyways, the first two.
Okay. All right, yeah, so first, yeah, I haven't watched Futurama in a few years, but yeah, it definitely was a show that I enjoyed as well, so... Okay, so the first two episodes, what streaming service is that on now? I can't remember. Is that on Hulu?
That is currently on Hulu.
Hulu, okay, perfect. So that is your thing. So if you have Hulu, or a way to watch shows a different way, that's, hush hush, watch the first two episodes of Futurama. It definitely is a fun show. For those who are living on a rock and never heard of it, basically, it's the same creator as a Simpson, where it's Philip J. Fry is a pizza delivery boy that falls into a cryogenic pod and freezes him from midnight on New Year's Day in 2000 until New Year's Eve 2099. 2999, and so it's just the fun thing. He was frozen for 1,000 years and seeing all the stuff that happened there. So. I'm excited for this one. I haven't watched the show in a while. This was definitely a nice cult classic, as it actually got brought back from the dead in 2008. So that is what we watching this week. So thank you, Emily, for joining us. Thank you for picking Mario 64 as the winner, of course.
Thank you, my love.
So
thanks, guys.
I know that Connor and Johnny are both now mad at you, but I'm glad that you were able to pick the correct.
And all the
We're going to be
fathers and
talking
sons in the
after
world.
this.
So I'm glad you picked the correct one. So be sure to go and play all of these games, not just Mario 64, even though that is the best one to play with it. But before we do officially wrap it up, a couple quick things to get out of the way as well. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor, which is the easiest way to make a podcast. Visit anchor.fm to start your own. That's where we post our podcasts on, as well as YouTube. And listen to Anchor because we get some money for that, which is nice. But you can do that, and that's how we get on all the platforms we're on, because not only we're on YouTube and Anchor, we're on Breaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. So you're able to listen to us on a huge variety of platforms, which is nice. This podcast is also sponsored by ByLightFixtures.com. Visit ByLightFixtures.com for a trusted source of quality lighting products for your business or home. So thank you to both of our sponsors. And be sure to tune in over the coming weeks as we continue to push more on the Nerd News Now type of stuff, and on the new show that Connor will be having that'll be coming soon as well. So be on the lookout for those episodes starting to go up, and plenty more as we are getting closer to that PS5 and Xbox Series X release date. I'm excited. Connor, did you ever get your pre-order?
I did not.
Oh, well, hopefully you get one, because that'll be fun to do one of those first episodes right after it comes out to give some of our thoughts on the new systems a few days in. But hopefully Connor can get one. Hopefully Johnny can get his PS5 as well, so I'm not the only one with a new console. But that'll wrap up episode 32 of Rocket Talk. Be sure to follow us on our social medias, and Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. And thanks again, Emily, for joining us for this wonderful episode.
Thanks, guys.